Hello, how's everyone doing today? It's Daniel. I have a special guest, Rob, Voluntaryist Rebel. I don't think that's his birth name. Um, Rob Rebel is a voluntarist. He started making YouTube videos to wake up constitutionalists and Ron Paul conservatives out of their slumber. He used to campaign for Ron Paul and then discovered that I guess constitutionalism is a fraud and that there shouldn't be limited evil, there shouldn't be limited rape, limited murder, and limited theft. There should be none of these things. And even if they exist, one should not advocate for them. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay. How did you, let me get a little background. How did you become an anarchist?
Well, it's just like a lot of people that are waking up now. I'm in that whole Ron Paul made me an anarchist club. You know, basically through opening up, going through Ron Paul and whatnot, and I mean, I can go back another 5 years before even Ron Paul, like on my journey, but that was the big thing, like kind of discovering like self-ownership and watching different speeches, like, you know, I own myself, and from anything else, it's just, you know, if I own myself, no one else can lay claim to me, and that's where really I come from.
All right. Very cool. So did you not just did you know that but didn't see the contradiction, or did you?
You know what? I knew that I always own myself, but I mean, everyone's, you know, you're born into the system as being a statist. You know, everyone's born into this system, and you know, I used to be like this proud American, and I kind of grew up in like a conservative house and whatnot, and Republican house, and yeah, I used to be all pro-American and whatnot, and I read the Constitution much. I used to be a very hardcore constitutionalist. You know, have you read the Constitution? People like that, and founding father stuff, all that jazz. And it was just the more and more I read it, I've read the Constitution too much, to be perfectly honest. The more I read it, the more I did like research. I really one of the speeches that really woke me up, that I discovered through Ron Paul was, I'm a fan of, even though he's, you know, still he's not all the way there in public, but I'm a huge fan of Andrew Napolitano. He kind of helped wake me up, and I saw a speech of his, I think it had to be like 4 or 5 years ago, and it really kind of set me off, where, you know, the whole thing about natural rights, how you know, you own yourself, and you know, you have rights before the government even existed, and I never really thought of it that way, being a constitution. I just thought the Constitution was there, and you know, that's how things are, and we have to support the system. And I was like, you know what? We existed before the system even existed, and that's what really drove me to keep pushing myself. And then I kept finding other YouTube videos, other speeches, reading more, and just more and more, and I just kept going down that rabbit hole until finally I had to let go. I had to let go of like holding on to that last rung of like holding on to like maybe the state can be saved and maybe we can somehow fix the system. There's no fixing the system. The system's always going to be corrupt. The system always is going to lay claim over other individuals, and I'm for self-government now, and for self-ownership.
Yeah. I think he's all the way there, actually.
Well, I think he is too. He just doesn't. You know, it's weird. It's weird. It's one of those things where I kind of view like there's some people, there's some personalities out there that they know the truth, but they walk all the way up to that line, but they don't cross it because they're like that. It's like everyone goes through similar journeys, it seems, and there's certain people within, you know, I guess you call it the matrix or society, whatever you want to call it, but there's certain people that are there to help others along the way. And I kind of view like Ron Paul or Andrew Napolitano and others kind of like, they're like that stepping stone to get over the ledge, you know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. I mean, I think it's sort of good that they don't come out of the closet. You know, they say if you want to cook a frog, if you turn the nozzle all the way up, it'll just jump out of the flame. You have to slowly or the flame. And I think if Ron Paul would have just said, I'm an anarchist, everyone said, oh, he's a nut, and not listen to him. And so, I think it's much better to, instead of just say out and out, I'm an anarchist, to warm people up a little bit. Instead of just, whoa, you're against gravity, because that's how they view the state, and so I can't even talk to you.
Exactly. There was actually a speech that Napolitano did. It's on YouTube from had to be 3 or 4 years ago, where it was at Mises, and one of the students there asked him, "Are you an anarchist?" And you just haven't admitted it. And he goes, "You don't see me saying no." But that was the only time I've ever seen him actually admit it. But yeah, I agree. There's people out there that they know where they are. They know that they're there to kind of help others along the way.
I mean, Ron Paul called himself a voluntarist. Because that a lot of people, you have to Google that to know what that means, anarchy. So I think he's sort of one at heart. Do you think that it will be achieved, or soon, or how do you think it would?
Abolishing the state, having a free society.
Yeah.
I want to say I hope so. I do hope so. I think there's a chance of it happening. In all honesty, the internet's really changing everything, and I wouldn't know what I know now if it wasn't for the internet. And most people, now wouldn't have the philosophical views they have if they didn't have the access to the information. And the way technology is moving so quickly, and the way information is being broadcast so quickly, I honestly do feel that at some point, hopefully in our lifetime, we could have a free society. I think technology is really making the state obsolete. I mean, you see technology increasing so fast. I mean, right now they're just coming out with 3D printers, but if we get to the point where we can have a device in our house that can make anything we need, and we can somehow figure out abundance of energy, why would we even need the state? Why would we? You know what I'm saying? But that could be possibly in our future as well. But I definitely see maybe communities becoming free, I'm a Free State Project participant, so I hope we plan to move to New Hampshire soon and whatnot. But I think there's a chance of having a free society. I think possibly even the Blue Ridge Liberty Project can have a good chance. There's a lot of people in Texas that know that they want freedom. So yeah, there's a chance of different communities coming up and really having a free society. It's possible in our lifetime. I'm definitely optimistic.
Yeah. There's so many to name, but what do you think is the biggest? I mean, one of the things that sort of annoys me about political debates is just this inherent laziness. I think it's important whenever you're debating to understand the person's philosophy and actually read legitimately the philosophy. And this is true for anything. If you want to understand socialism, only reading Ludwig von Mises' Socialism, it's a good book, but no, you have to actually read the literature of the socialists themselves to understand it. And, unfortunately, people don't even read, the anarchy literature or anything else. They'll just have this perception with a lot of ignorance. But that being said, what do you think is perhaps the biggest misconception that people have about anarchy?
About anarchy? Yeah. That we're violent people that throw bombs. I mean, that's the biggest thing.
I think it's just the media's portrayal. I mean.
Well, no, I mean, I'll try. I'll talk to I'll try and have conversations with people in real life, that aren't on the internet or whatnot, and talk about hey, what about freedom? And we got to get rid of all these state organizations. Well, that would be anarchy. There'd be chaos in the streets. I'm like, no, that would be chaos. That wouldn't be anarchy. People confuse. A lot of people that are uninformed of what anarchy is, they really confuse what chaos and anarchy. Anarchy is peace and cooperation. It's not chaos and violence, and that's the big thing that we somehow need to broadcast to people to our side. We're the ones that are being peaceful. You're on the side of violence. We're on the side of peace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if the government did not get in the business of food production, we wouldn't know, we wouldn't know if food's poisonous, and we wouldn't know, what to supply. There'd be too much unhealthy food because people, can't control themselves and are hedonists, and there would not be enough healthy food. So we need government to organize in food production. I mean, I think,
well, that's the. I mean, if you want me to go on a rant about the FDA, I mean, people put this this belief system that there's this agency out there that's going to protect us from all these harms in regards to food. If you want to do the FDA, and the FDA, in all honesty, makes foods worse in the fact that there's no marketplace, there's no free markets system in place to help people determine what's safe and what's not. Well, if the FDA said it's okay, well, then I guess I'm going to eat it or put it in my body, when most times a lot of stuff the FDA says is good usually is not good for your body. And a lot of stuff they say is bad is pretty much just bad because they're paid off by corporations that want them to push some sort of food or medicine that is good for their profit line but not good for the consumer.
Yeah. No, I agree. I mean, I think that I think one of the problems is that people seem to have a different. People say, oh, people, are selfish, they're self-interested, but they don't apply that same criterion universally, right? I mean, do you feel that they'll say, well, the state obviously cares about us. They're not selfish. They're not interested. Because if people are selfish and want to rule over others, wouldn't you just have all these victimless crime laws? If people really care and are greedy, wouldn't taxation be used wastefully and be excessive? So, people don't apply this argument to everyone, right?
No, sometimes I just think it's people being lazy. They don't want to take responsibility for their lives. That's why they kind of let the state handle it, let the government handle it, because I'm too busy or too lazy to worry about what's healthy or good for me.
Mm-hmm. Well, what do you say to people who say, well, that's utopian, and maybe it's good in theory, but until we have anarchy, we just have to make the state as good as possible, as pleasurable as possible, and work within the system, and and to figure out how do we
I'm not. Well, the thing is, there's no modern day real huge example that we can, what we're advocating, a free and peaceful society, doesn't really exist. There's no real society where it's completely free of force and coercion. We don't really have what we're advocating for really hasn't taken place. I mean, I guess you can say way back, hundreds of years ago in certain societies, yes. I'm saying here and now, with the lifestyles we live, the technology we have, there's no real world example of what we're advocating for would really look like. We know what we think it would look like, but we're more advocating the ideas of freedom and peace than anything else. But yeah, we don't have that's kind of the big problem. It was just you have no plans. There is no plan. The plan is just to leave people alone. That's basically it.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny that you said that people think that anarchists are throwing bombs, because on the one hand, people will say, "Oh, you just want people to be violent and there to be no repercussions," and on the other hand, will say, "Oh, you're just a pacifist and believe that if you just talk nice, people are going to stop."
Yeah, there is the whole thing with pacifism. I'm all for pacifism to a degree, but in all honesty, everyone has that line in the sand they're going to draw. I'm not going to go take up arms and attack the greatest military that's ever existed. That being said, if someone comes to my house, my home, and is going to take me away for life at the barrel of a gun or whatnot, I'm going to fight back and do whatever I can to stay free. There's a line in the sand that I'm not going to be taken for something where that I know I'm going to be thrown away in a cage for the rest of my life or whatnot. At that point, I will draw a line in the sand and stand up. I'm not going to just roll over and here's the back of my head, put the gun there. I'm not going to do that.
Mm-hmm. Do you think what is needed? because I guess there are different people with different views, but there are certain people, for instance, who say, if people understood economics, then we'd have a totally different society. If there were videos of government corruption, people would view it very differently. And then you have other people like Stefan Molyneux, who says people totally are aware that government lied to get into wars such as Vietnam. People are totally aware of government cover-ups, and they simply ignore them. So it's not just the facts that matter. It's the viewpoint that government is immoral. Where are you on the?
Well, see, I can actually really relate to that because I really started my journey. I'm coming from the truther movement, So back in like '06, a coworker showed me loose change, and like since then, all I've done is just to do more and more research and more questioning of everything I know, and that's how I got here. I got here from literally doing research and questioning, and at first I was like, the government's doing this, the government's doing that, there's all this corruption, why isn't anyone doing anything? And like everyone I talk to nowadays, everyone knows that, but if you don't have a grounded philosophy of, freedom and liberty and self-ownership and peace, if you don't have that grounded philosophy, knowing that's not going to mean anything, because even if, say, these like Tea Party patriots, if they, restored the republic, which I used to be one of those people, then what? They're going to restore it to just like a reset button, and like things are going to be better? It's not going to be the same. You need to have a philosophy, and that's where I kind of, on my journey discovering that, I came across really the liberty movement, and I'm like, oh my God, these people, they're the ones that are in the know about what we really need to do. Right. And I know I'm not the only truther or people like that, or Ron Paul conservative coming from that perspective, but that's the big thing. Like just because everyone I talk to knows the government are just criminals and there's corruption everywhere, but they don't have that philosophy in place to like take it to the next step. They're just like, well, that's the system we have. They just shrug their shoulders, and that's about it.
I don't know anyone who likes politicians. Exactly. It's interesting. I think that the difference between an anarchist and a statist is that a statist views government how it should be in theory, and an anarchist sees government how it should be in reality. And at least, for me, one of the questions that I would ask of people who believe in limited government is, and one of the things that made me an anarchist is, we have to be realistic, and practically speaking, you want a government limited. From a realistic perspective, how do you expect government to be limited? Simply saying we need a constitution? They don't follow it. They didn't follow it before. Why would they follow it again? And I think people often say, this is what I want government to look like, and anything that goes against that, instead of saying, maybe I'm advocating things that are unrealistic, it's, well, I'm not advocating that, so, if government's acting badly, that's not my fault for advocating a state.
Well, I mean, the thing is, like with Constitution, the government follows the Constitution in regards to what it can get away with. It doesn't follow the stuff where it's not supposed to do. It definitely taxes, and it definitely goes to war, and it regulates commerce. I mean, it does all that stuff, but it doesn't follow the, the 10th Amendment or the First or Second or pretty much anything else. No, I agree with you. It's you can't limit. Even if you limit it, I kind of look at it this way. When I talk to, small government people, I'm like, all right, if I'm doing I go to the whole victimless crime thing. You make a law. There's some law saying that, I have to pay a tax. There's a lot of limited government people are against taxation. So I try to use taxation for limited government people because they're for low taxes. Well, I'm for zero taxes. I'm not going to pay. What are you going to do about it? Are you going to pick up the gun in the room and point it at my head and steal from me? Or are you just going to hire somebody to do that? And they're like, well, I don't want to have violence against anyone. Like, well, neither do I. But they don't see it that way. If someone puts on that whole shiny badge argument, if someone puts on a uniform, they're exempt from stealing from other people, and that's kind of like that mental wall that I try to break with people.
Yeah. I mean, you said earlier that you make videos for, conservative and constitutionalists. Why is that? Do you feel that people who are too statist it's a lost cause? Let me concentrate on people who at least are skeptical of government, or?
I view the. I don't think we can. I mean, I'm sure there's people out there that we can try and wake up that are really unaware of what's going on in the world. They just live their daily lives, and they go to work, go to their family, and that's about it. But the people that are paying attention, I don't really see waking up big government people. I think that's a harder. It's hard to wake up conservatives, but coming from a conservative background and like a small government background, I know how they think, and I know how they think about the Constitution and the founding fathers, and I try to. I don't make all my videos aren't about that, but I have a lot of videos though that kind of target that mindset, that make you really question like the Constitution. Like one of my favorite videos I've done thus far is "We Lost Me a We." To me, I haven't I kind of view this not only as just as a philosophical action to wake people up. It's almost like an art form nowadays, and like I haven't topped that video in my own mental mind. But sorry about that. I'm on my phone. Someone tried calling me. Sorry about that. Anywho, but no, I really approach conservatives and constitutionalists because I know how they think, and I know they want freedom. They really do want freedom, but they still hold on to the state. I'm trying to break that state mentality that a lot of conservatives and constitutionalists have.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it's true. I actually read. It doesn't shock me. It's from the Huffington Post, but I read an article called "Jury Nullification in the Zimmerman Trial," and the article basically said that in jury nullification, the jurors can do not guilty, but they can also do guilty if they think it's a bad law, like stand your ground. And I'm like, what? What? I mean, so like, what do you say to that?
Well, I'm a huge supporter of jury nullification, but that if you're defending, that's a whole thing of the whole Trayvon Martin stuff and stand your ground. Like, I wasn't there. I don't know exactly what he did, but I'm a firm believer of self-defense. Like, if you're being attacked, you have every right to defend yourself from being harmed or hurt or killed. And anyone that throws anybody in a cage and is on a jury and is like, well, this person should be, they used a gun, so they should be thrown in jail, regardless of the fact that they used that gun in protecting their own mind. So that has everything to do with it. If a gun is just a tool, whatever they're using is just a tool. If they're doing it in self-preservation, that's not a crime, and they shouldn't be thrown in a cage for doing so.
Right. No, I agree. No, but I agree. But I mean, the reason I'm mentioning the article is because the article was implying, and maybe this is where I think I agree with you, that they wouldn't know freedom if it hit him in the face, is that jury nullification means sentencing someone guilty for if you think that just because you think that, even if they didn't break a law, just because you think that they did something which should be illegal.
Well,
the whole point of jury nullification.
No. Yeah. You can't say guilty, and saying guilty in the same line as jury nullification is an oxymoron. You can't just say well, we're going to use jury nullification to make this person guilty. No, that's the complete opposite of jury nullification. You say someone's innocent even though they broke the law. That's the whole point of jury nullification.
Right.
And on a side note,
even though they didn't break the law.
On a side note, for jury nullification, I want to make a video about this at some point, because so many voluntarist anarchists, anti-state people, they don't want to go on to jury duty.
I do.
And that's one of those things where, like, look, no. This is one of those few instances where you want to take part in the state. And on top of that, you want if you are going to be a juror, lie to get on that jury. I'm never going to say lie. I'm never going to say it. Always be truthful. But in that one small instance,
No.
do what you can to be on that jury, because you can save somebody's life. You know, you can save someone from going to a cage, and you can also use it as a way to be as activism to wake up other people on that jury to you know, what's going on in the state, and like, but at the end of the day, you can save someone from being caged.
No. I mean, I don't know if do anti-state people really say that to you, because I've always said be on a jury, and if they say can you be impartial, say yes. You can lie to criminals. If the Nazi government says you hiding Jews in your house, you don't have to tell the truth. If a robber says, do you have any jewels, you don't have to tell the truth. You can lie in your tax form, and you can lie to get on a jury. You don't have to tell the truth to criminals.
Yes, I completely agree. You lie to criminals. You don't. You do what you can to help out a fellow human being. That's what I say.
Yeah. No, I agree. So, but I would be surprised. I don't think they're really anti-state yet if they say that you should be honest.
Well, no. I'm saying there's a lot of people that are anti-state that don't even want to participate in anything the state does. But that's that one situation where I think a lot of anti-state people should be involved with. I mean, unless they went the whole route where they're not even they don't even have identification whatsoever, which I don't know. That's a whole nother subject. But if you're already in the system, you might as well help out your fellow man and get on a jury if you're asked to do so, and do what you can to get on that jury to help save that person.
Sure. Well, that leads me to my next question. So, do you think that people who are anti-state, should they work, should they be a public school teacher? Should they, enter the political arena, or I guess what people would call the public arena? There's no such thing as public and private, but the political arena at all, or should they say, I'm not going to be a public school teacher, I'm not going to,
I do have mixed views on that, but for the most part, it's hard for me to say that people who are anti-state shouldn't infiltrate, state apparatuses. That's why I kind of look at it that way, like us infiltrating, where the state is, and like, case in point, a lot of people woke up because of Ron Paul. If Ron Paul didn't run for president, I probably wouldn't have the philosophical view I have now. So it's hard for me to say don't run for office, or don't somehow infiltrate the system, when someone doing just that helped wake up millions of people. So for me, it's really hard to say completely, don't do that.
No, I completely.
Don't ask me, but at the same time, don't ask me to vote for you. Huh. Use that as an educational tool.
No, I completely agree. I mean, I think when I hear some anarchists say, well, you shouldn't be a public school teacher because you're a hypocrite. Okay, so you're ensuring that 100% of the teachers at a public school are statists, and they're not going to hear one anarchist view. That's all you're ensuring.
I agree. I'm not, if someone, they're going to be yes, if a teacher, if someone becomes a teacher, they're going to be, if they're in a public school, they are going to be paid with stolen funds, and that's immoral. I understand that. But that's going to happen anyways. At least this way, you'd have someone who's talking about anti-states philosophy at some level in some course at some point. It might wake up some students that person has in their class if they're talking about freedom and liberty instead of the state. Mm-hmm. But no, I'm all for voluntarist and anarchists and liberty people infiltrating the state at some levels. I'm not against that. A lot of people are. I'm not.
Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on voting? Do you think it's immoral? Do you think it's pointless? Both? Neither?
I do think it's kind of immoral to vote because it's almost a form of aggression. It really depends. I guess, you can make the argument in some places like in New Hampshire Free State Project, there actually can get, anti-state people almost elected and whatnot. And running and voting, I view, are two different things, because running, it's almost an educational platform because you're getting a lot of press and you're reaching people you normally wouldn't reach with your message. So I'm not against anybody running. But I have a hard time. I unfortunately did vote in the last election before I was trying to let go. I didn't let go yet, and I regret it. I wish I woke up sooner. I feel like I woke up late to the game, but I don't think I'll ever vote again. Mm-hmm. But I'm not against people running. Does that make sense?
I don't know. How's it? If you're not against the people running, then, if they got into office, do you think that they would just become a sellout at this point? Because if someone's arguing to at least reduce the state, how's that person committing aggression, assuming, let's say he fulfills his promises and it's not bullshit? Isn't he help limiting aggression?
They would be, but even then, I kind of view more as just educational platform. If they actually get enough, say somehow a bunch of anarchists got into Congress and they had like a block of like anarchists in Congress, not the Tea Party anarchists, which is that's just ridiculous. But if they get in there and yeah, if they got in there and somehow did something which is like that's a pipe dream in itself. But I guess if they didn't take any pay, I guess they wouldn't be, because even taking pay in regards to being a congressman or a senator or something like that, that money was stolen to give to you. If they always voted no on everything or proposed legislation to remove everything, okay, I'd be okay with that. I guess I'm not 100% against that, but let's be honest, what candidate actually runs on the platform of removing the federal government? I guess that's the only time I would really I would go against my beliefs of voting and support someone who's for the elimination of the state. If someone ran on that platform, I guess I would support them. But I wouldn't support it.
All right. So you're going to vote for Kokesh in 20...
Yes, if he gets out of prison, I guess I'll vote for him. I would love to see someone like him like run on the platform of ending the federal government. I don't know if that's going to really be a possibility, but I would support his campaign for sure, just so that there's more people out there that would support secession. Like removing one layer of government's better than having the federal government still exists. Even if there's still all the state governments, you got to at least get rid of the federal government. I'm down for that.
Yeah. Well, since we're on Kokesh, I guess I'll ask, what are your thoughts on Kokesh? Do you like him? Do you, because,
I love Kokesh. What's not to like about him? He is a little,
narcissistic?
Yeah, he does think highly of himself, but what anarchist doesn't? You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something. This liberty movement, there's so many people. The problem is everyone who comes to this point, because they've done so much research and whatnot, they all think they're right. They all think they're smart, and they all think, I'm still learning along the way. I'm probably saying stuff that I'm probably going to be wrong about, or I am wrong about. I'm still learning, but all of us, we didn't get to this point because, we're like, a pushover. We all got to this point because we all think we're right, and yeah, he is a little full of himself, but I don't have anything against him for that. He's done a lot to push the message, so I can't knock the guy. Plus on top of that, he's standing on his beliefs, and he's now in a cage because of it. So I can't knock him for that either. I think he pushed a little too hard. I think his biggest fault is that he thinks too big. I think the whole March on Washington, especially with the 50-state Second American Revolution thing, was him kind of reaching higher than he could reach. You know what I'm saying? I think he dreams big, but I don't know. He doesn't dream in reality. Does that make sense? You know what I'm saying? I'm a full supporter of him. Don't get me wrong. I just think sometimes he extends himself.
I don't think that accomplished. I don't think the march accomplished anything. I think it was sort of counterproductive. It landed him in jail, and but no one took it seriously. People just thought, "Oh, this guy's just a nut. He thinks he's going to go on to Washington and try to take over the government," and which of course how the media portrayed it. So, and I think there are problems with that. Do you think that people?
Well, obviously there wasn't even a march. He did cancel it.
Sorry, what?
I mean, obviously there wasn't a march. He did cancel it, but I agree with you in some point that the media did kind of blow it up. But at least the media was talking about the right to bear arms. At least that was something that I'm a firm believer that you can own a device of any kind, whether it be a gun or a knife. Right. At least that, and the fact that everyone that talked about it said, well, the government's just going to kill everybody. They're going to kill all the protesters that come up. Instead of saying the protesters are going to kill people, everyone I saw, we were talking about, the government, it's going to be a battlefield, and the government's going to take them all out. It's going to be bloodshed. Like, they never talked about violence from the protesters. All the people that are saying they shouldn't do it was because they talked about how the government was going to do violence against them. I think that was kind of a victory in the fact that a lot of people were admitting, the government is violence, and they're going to be the ones using the violence, not the protesters.
So people don't care. I mean, I think they don't care that the government's violence. I don't think they care. I mean, it's sort of like, when people say, well, what about the roads, right? Anyone who says, what about the roads, what you are essentially saying is all the bad stuff that I just brought against the state is worth it for your government roads. The bloodshed, well, I need government roads. So if that's the cost for government roads, so be it.
Oh, God. Why? Here's the thing. Why do... It seems like so many people that defend the state, it's like they have like this checklist of arguments that they'll use. I mean, like it's a whole huge joke. Like, what about the roads? Like, there's always certain things that every statist will say. Where it's to the point where I've heard every argument.
Anarchy.
Yeah, it's like, well, there would be anarchy if you didn't pay for the roads. Like, what?
Wait, what? Hello? Hello? Hey, sorry about that. I think he got cut off. Let's just wait a few minutes. Maybe he'll come back on. Let me see. Hold on one second. I'm just going to try to see if I can get him back on. Let me see. Hey, you back?
There we go. I'm back.
All right.
Sorry about that.
No
Got this. The app crashed on me. Love Google.
Sorry, it happened. Sorry, what were you saying?
No, I forgot what my even train of thought was, but no, the damn app crashed on me. That's why I got disconnected. But anyway, everyone in the state, like that supports state, they always use the same checklist, and they always talk about the exact same things over and over. And like you said, you'll tell them all these horrible things, all this violence the state does, and their response is, well, who will build the roads? Like. So we just told you everything that's going wrong and all this violence and bloodshed and whatnot and theft that's going on. But as long as you can drive somewhere, you're okay with it.
Right. I mean, that's essentially what...
Not to mention that, there could always be some sort of, way that we can build a road without pointing guns at each other.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, that's what statists... I mean... Carl Hess said that whenever you defend government, you're always going to end up defending mass murderers, right? I mean, anyone who makes the argument, for instance, by living here you agree to the rules, what you are basically saying is, as long as the government lets you leave, they could do whatever they want to you, and that's okay. The Jews committed suicide during the Holocaust. They could have left. They didn't. They asked for it. There's no such thing as a... It's just being a tyranny apologist. Right? I mean, saying by living here you agree to the rules, well, if the government can steal your money and you don't leave, that's not theft, then why can't they throw you into jail for smoking weed? And you agree to that. Why can't they kill you? So, I mean, it's just excusing government from any type of aggression by saying it's voluntary.
No, I agree. I completely agree.
Like they'll say, the problem with libertarians is, that you need a mix of selfishness and cooperation, as if, the government is cooperation.
Yeah, the government doesn't cooperate. They only cooperate in stealing and in caging people.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that an anarchist should accept any social services from the state? Do you think they should go to libraries? Do you think they should collect unemployment welfare?
I've been thinking about. I'm mixed on that issue because the way I see it, a lot of people who are anti-states, like, well, you shouldn't use any states apparatus, get on welfare or anything like that. I understand that. I completely understand that point of view. But at the same time, if the government's going broke, I'm just kind of thinking out loud. Like, if the government's going broke, what's wrong with us making it go faster?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, if they stole the money from me via taxes, what's wrong with me stealing it back, saying I want to go on this program or that program? I know that sounds bad. I don't do that. I'm in a camp where I don't want anything to do with the state in regards to funds or welfare or anything like that. I don't use it. I don't want to use it. But if someone's going to use it, saying like, well, maybe we should all use it so that we can defund the state faster, then we can achieve our free society. It has some, if they stole it from me, what's wrong with me stealing it back?
Well, it's not stealing it back, right?
Well, I know you're not stealing it back. You're using a program, but you're getting money back that was stolen from you at some point.
But wait, if I steal your TV and you take it back, that's not theft. You're just repossessing your property, right?
So would you say someone getting onto welfare is repossessing their own property or money?
No. It goes into a vacuum and, it gets collected with everyone else's. I mean, I don't recommend it. I think it's self-defeating anyway. You become reliant on the state, and then you become lazy and dependent on others. I don't recommend it. I think it denies any type of growth. It's unhealthy. So I think it's self-defeating anyway. I wouldn't recommend people use these services.
Well, I agree with you on that. I mean, I see the philosophical viewpoint that some may have to get on it. I don't support it either. I don't support someone going on welfare and taking that. But if you can make the point that they're getting their money back that was at some point stolen from them. But I wouldn't recommend anyone actually using some sort of service, because in doing so, you're endorsing the state that they have some sort of legitimacy, and that's why they can steal more money, is because they need to support people who are using that service.
Yeah, I guess that's a fair argument. What do you think in terms? Currently we have the state. So I guess what are your thoughts on, let's say, the death penalty or nuclear disarmament and stuff like that?
Well, in a free society, or as of right now?
Both.
Okay, so in regards to the death penalty and nuclear disarmament?
Yeah.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay. Death penalty, in regards now, I'm against the death penalty. In all honesty, the state, I don't trust any lawyer that the state has. I don't trust their judicial system. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of bad people out there, but at the same time, I mean, most of the people that are even in our jails now are there for victimless crimes. I can't really, it's hard to me support the death penalty in those situations, because I don't trust the government. I don't trust them to make the right decision. I don't want them to kill someone who is innocent. You know what I'm saying? And as for nuclear disarmament, I mean, I would love the fact that there'd be no nuclear weapons in the world, but I can't see that ever happening. There's always going to be nukes. There's always going to be some other chemical weapon or some other biological weapon or some other new weapon that we don't even know of. There's always going to be weapons. I'm not for them being used, but at the same time, I see no way of ever any country just think, oh, well, I'll hand over my nukes, I'll hand over my weapons program, because look what happened to Libya. Libya did that, and next thing you know, we bombed the hell out of them.
Yeah.
So I can't see any. Well, I'm sorry, I said we. That's status word.
Them.
The United States government bombed the hell out of Libya when they gave up their weapons program.
Them. Don't say we. Them.
Yeah. Them.
Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine, and this is the only way that I would support the death penalty. A friend of mine said that if a bunch of people say that this man murdered someone and his punishment should be death, if it's found out that he didn't murder anyone, the people who sentenced him and executed him, they should be charged with murder and, get the death penalty. And under those grounds, of course, I would support the death penalty. One, no one would ever use it, and people would be damn sure that if they did, that there would be repercussions. Because right now, there's no repercussions. If they murder someone innocent, all they say is, whoops. They should be charged with murder.
No, I agree. That, and if then there has to be a lot of evidence. There has to be beyond any kind of shadow of a doubt whatsoever, that there was some sort of planned attack, that murder did happen, was perpetrated by that person. But in all honesty, you want to rotate to like a free society. I really view that most violence and crime in the world would really go down in a free society, because a lot of violence that happens, people are put into economic situations because of the state. A lot of stuff, like case in point, like the whole like drug trafficking and whatnot. If all drugs were made legal, gangs wouldn't have to use violence to protect their territory of drug control, and have shootouts with other drug dealers and whatnot. Because in all honesty, all they have to do is open up a actual business. They can open up a store and sell whatever they want to sell, and people would come in. They wouldn't have to protect their assets the way that they do now. If everyone was able to do whatever they want, they wouldn't have to. Because you get into that business, you get into the black market stuff. It's almost a monopoly, because the only people that even get into that are the ones that are willing to break the law and face jail time just to provide that service, which limits the amount of people that are even willing to get into that situation.
Yeah, no, I agree. I'm not sure you answered the question though. Do you think that if there is a punishment and the guy's found innocent, the people who they committed aggression, right? I mean, would you agree that if let's say I say you're guilty of murder, and I believe it, it's sincere, and I execute you, I should probably be charged with murder now too, because I executed someone who didn't do any violence.
So taking justice into your own hands, type of thing.
I'm saying, what should the repercussions be for a verdict when it's found that the person's innocent? On the people who
so hypothetically, I killed somebody and I'm found innocent, and you seek justice for that person and kill me. What should happen to you?
No. I'm saying, let's say you killed someone and let's say you're declared guilty. What should be but it's revealed. There are people who are sentenced to the death penalty, and it's revealed years later that they didn't do it. What should the penalty be the people who executed them and the people who said guilty and all that? Should there be any repercussions for them, or should they just say, whoops, we made a mistake?
Well, like I said, in regards to the state, in regards to a state society, not a free society, I really do feel that someone who did really kill someone in cold blood should probably be put to death. However, I can't trust the government. I can't trust what the government does, how they've thrown so many innocent people in jail. It's hard for me to trust that they are doing a good job in prosecuting this person for these crimes and doing the actual real good investigation. Now, in the free society, where there's multiple different organizations that have to, they have the free market where they literally they have their base, their customers that they have to have good customer service, and they have to do this, very publicly and make sure that they're 100% correct in their prosecution, and in that situation, I would be for the death penalty in some sort of private court system, but not in I can't trust the state enough to say that I want to give the state the authority to end the life of another individual, because I can't trust them. I literally can't.
Yeah. And there's no penalty when they're wrong. Obviously,
you don't see a lawyer or judge being reprimanded, while alone thrown in a cage themselves for being wrong and causing someone to die. Yeah. Yeah. But if that happened in the free market, that person would be probably prosecuted as well, and or at least be fired for their job capabilities, because they obviously caused someone to die that was innocent.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I mean, one of the reasons government, I would argue, is so destructive that in the free market, when there's competition, if in one area there's a lot of crime, people would that area people would just leave that area, and people would the protection services would go out of business for being incompetent. In government, if there's a lot of crime, we need to hire more police. They get benefit from the violence because it's a monopoly.
Oh yeah. They use that reason to just to steal more money and hire more people instead of actually improving their services.
Yeah. Do you have you made anyone see the light? Have you persuaded people to?
I've persuaded a few people that I know in real life to at least go liberty minded. I've gotten a couple people to really let go of the state. My wife, she says she was already there, but she was, and I kind of got her over the hump. But she's not really that active. But she completely, she's there, she's on board. But no, I've gotten a few people in real life to get there, at least get to the mindset of being pro liberty and pro freedom. But getting people really to be active and wanting to do more, that's something you need to make on their own. But I've woken up a lot of people in my own real life, that I know personally that they're aware of what's going on, they support. So at the same time, I've run into people that I know in real life that they've gone the other direction. No matter what I say, no matter what I do, they've gone to the direction where they want total government. They want all this government everywhere. I mean, I've lost friends saying how I'm for freedom. I won't lie. I've lost a lot of different friends in real life because I don't want to be around people that want to use violence and point a gun at me for not following one of their laws.
Yeah, sorry to.
How about you? Have you woken up anyone in real life? How many people have you woken up on your journey?
I don't think so, unfortunately. I mean, I sort of get very annoyed because I don't have honest political conversations. Every criticism is either something that's a complete straw. I don't think I've heard a criticism of something that I've actually said that people crush. It's only a cliche or a straw man of something I believe in. So I think I've had, unfortunately, few serious political conversations. It's it's just caricatures of my position. But I mean, I think also, unfortunately, I think that one of the benefits of having a viewpoint that's popular is that you don't actually have to defend it. You could just fall back on, well, this is what most people believe, and if you're right, more people would believe your view. Therefore, I'm right. It's lazy, and it's intellectual laziness. But you don't have to. You actually have to think and defend your view when it's not mainstream.
Well, one thing that a lot of us, I think, kind of we don't really realize is when you're talking to somebody, if you're talking to someone in real life or like these videos we're making or whatnot, we honestly don't know. We may be planting a seed in someone's mind. We may be planting that seed of doubt, and we don't know how long that's going to grow. Like I may have woken someone up that won't wake up for another couple of years, but that conversation I had with that person, like a year or so, that they may still be thinking about. You know what I'm saying? There may be a certain situation, a certain conversation that you have with somebody. No one's going to completely. I mean, it took me years to get where I am now. I can't expect now I'm here now, but I cannot expect someone I'm talking to completely shred the entire idea of the state, everything in their mind overnight in one little, one conversation they had with me. Oh, you're right, I'm wrong, I agree with you. That's not going to happen. But we got to remember that these conversations we have with people, we're planting that seed of doubt, and sometimes it grows faster in other people than it does in others, but that's all we can really hope for, is just to plant that seed of doubt.
No, I agree. Whenever I hear people say, what's the difference between a minarchist and an anarchist 6 months, I go, I must be severely retarded. It took me 10 years. And so...
You know what? It only took me about 6 months. I'll be honest, but that was only because I got to that point. I wasn't really in... Well, no, I guess it took me longer than that. It took me a couple years, but it's not. And so it took me 6 months when I started researching what a free society and no government would look like. That's when it took me about 6 months to really mentally just let go of what I was holding on to.
Yeah. That's why I sort of get annoyed when I see some anarchists are like, "Oh, my friends are statists. I'm just, you know, they want to use violence against me. I'm going to disown them. I'm not going to talk to them." And I'm like, "You used to be there, man. You were there too, and you would have wanted all your friends to disown you because you weren't an anarchist. I mean, you know, remember when you were at that stage and be a little, you know."
You know, that kind of depends on the situation. It depends on the friends. Like, you know, if the friends are liberty-minded, if they know what freedom is and they don't want to use violence against people, and they're against the drug war and the wars overseas and taxation and stuff, they're on the right boat. They just haven't got all the way there. But when there's people that I have a few different points. If you're pro-war, you're pro-drug war, you're pro-heavy taxation, that, to me, that's one of those situations where I distance myself at some point. Depends on the person, depends on the friend. If the friend's like, no, I don't want to use violence against you, and I just think we need a state, those are people you can work with. You can still be friends, and you need to be there to help wake those, your friends up and whatnot. But, I mean, at the end of the day, there's some people that will have huge philosophical differences with you, and at some point you can't really stay friends with people that want to throw you in a cage for something that you're doing that has no victim.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I always thought it was sort of crazy how people like wear these Che Guevara shirts, or they talk about, well, socialism isn't so bad. And I'm like, it makes more sense for you to wear a Nazi uniform. Socialism has killed way, way more people. That fascism can't hold a candle to the amount of death that, a society that totally does not respect property rights.
Well, I completely agree. Like that's the whole thing with, like, you want to go to the whole thing with just I view people. I shouldn't say this because it's not really the case, but I view, once you get this rabbit hole so far, all right, when you see people that I kind of view people that wear Che shirts and people that wear like a shirt that says USA on it or something like that, kind of in the same boat, because both of them advocate for a government that is going to steal from me and throw me in a cage if I do not consent. Yeah. And like they're so more politically aligned, they don't even realize it.
Right. Yeah, I saw this great Facebook meme where pictures, instead of the Romney sign and the Obama sign on the lawns, it was debt, war, all the things that what they're actually voting for.
And all of them are running for president. War's running for president. That's running. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Because people, of course, never they never strike at the root. It's always, it's due to Obama. Oh, it's due to Bush. Oh, it's due to Romney. It's never, it's due to Hitler. It's due to Stalin. It's due to Mao. It's never the state. It's only those individuals. And if we didn't have a Mao and it's someone else, it would have been prevented. If we didn't have an Obama, it would have been prevented. It's never the state.
I completely agree. It's all about, it's your tribe and their tribe. That's what it's always about. They always go after the other person. Like, I live in Chicago, Southside Chicago, so I'm around a lot of Obama supporters, okay? And I'll ask them still, like, do you still support, you support Obama? It's like, oh, yeah, I still, I love Obama, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, you love Bush. Like, I hated Bush. Name me one policy. Name me one thing. One thing that Bush policy that Obama got rid of, that he changed. I can't think of one. Well, I can probably think of one, but the average person can't. And there is no difference. And honestly, I view Obama more Bush than Bush was. But they don't view it that way. He's like, well, that was a old white Republican. We got a black Democrat, and these are all these are progressive and more. He's a good guy. What was that one video that's just been on the internet too long ago? The Kickstarter for World War III. Did you see that?
No.
You didn't see that video? The Kickstarter for World War III.
No.
It was for the people that support Obama no matter what he says. Did you know he's friends with Jay-Z? You didn't see that one?
Maybe I saw it.
You have to watch it. It's a bunch of comedians making fun of Obama supporters, but it's dead on, because every Obama supporter I've ever talked to is so much like that. But at the same time, Republicans are the same way. They hate Obama, but he's doing everything that Bush did.
That's why I sort of laugh.
He's doing everything Bush did.
That's why I sort of laugh when all these people who are like, get out and vote, they're like, we need people to be educated. We need educated voters, and I'm like, educated voters? If they were educated, they wouldn't be voters.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They don't want educated voters. They want people that aren't educated to vote. If you're educated enough, you're not going to vote.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it doesn't make sense, and people don't even care about educated voters anyway. You know, every vote is equal. If you're ignorant, if you're violent, if you're, it doesn't matter what you believe. It doesn't matter how much you know.
Well, here's my thing. Here's a question for you. All right, I believe in self-government. I believe I govern myself, but nonetheless, I'm not so much against the idea of government, but it should be something that people consent to. Like, I don't consent to other people laying claim to me. That's me. If other people want to get together and have a government for them, that's their own prerogative. Leave me alone. Do what you want to do. If you want to be in a group of people where you're governing, you have people you elected that will rule over you, that's your prerogative, but don't use that against me because I never consented to it.
I wouldn't consider that government. Government must be I wouldn't consider that technically to be government because it wouldn't be a monopoly. It would simply be a bunch of people getting together to take votes to see, who would, be in charge of what, and simply selecting who's in charge. There's no force there. And if they can leave any time, I don't really see how that's a government. I don't, in any real sense. I wouldn't call it a government. I would just call it a voluntary organization.
I would see that, yeah, because government really is the monopoly of violence. So yes, you would be, and you can always leave. There's something wrong, then that's not really a government. But the people there would probably consider that a government. I don't know. At any rate, I don't really. If I could opt out of the system, I would make the compromise where the system can stay in place as long as I can opt out. If I can opt out and not be thrown in a cage for victimless crimes and not have my money stolen from me, it'd be a compromise I would make. If I can just opt out of the system, I would make that compromise.
Yeah, I'm a panarchist as well. One of the things that I say is we shouldn't vote. We shouldn't vote. What we should have is all the people who want Bush, all the people. Let's take last election. Anyone who wants Obama, don't have votes and have a winner-take-all. Have a true representative government. The people who want Obama, they get Obama. The people who want Romney get Romney. The people who want a third-party candidate get that. And the people who want no one get no one. That way everyone gets what they want. The people who say, I want a government, but I only want, Obama, they're happy. The people who want a government but only want not Obama, they're happy, and the people who don't want any, they're happy. So, isn't that better than just a winner-take-all voting where you're always going to have the people who lose suffer?
No, because then the other person can't say that they won. It's all about tribalism. The other tribe wants to beat the other tribe. They can't say that their guy won. Because if they just voted and that person is going to represent them and that's it, and that's their government, and there's a one-party system, they can't say they won if the only people they voted for is the people they voted for. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be tribalistic anymore. It'd be their tribe wouldn't win in the combat of politics.
That's a very rational answer. You've convinced me. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. I don't think a day go. I think. Do you find it more depressing or less depressing? I feel like I think they say the truth will set you free, but man, it's depressing. Now that I've become aware of the world I live in, it depresses the shit out of me.
I'll be honest. Sometimes I wish I took the blue pill. There are days that I kind of wish I took the blue pill instead of the red pill. But once you wake up, there ain't no going back. I can't just I can't close my eyes and pretend like the world I live in doesn't exist anymore, and I can just go back to being who I was 10 years ago. I can't do it. I can't go back. Once you see the truth, it does. I think it sets you free mentally. Mentally it does set you free, but man, yeah, you're right. It makes you depressed sometimes, knowing what you know. And it's not so much knowing what I know. It's the fact that it's hard. It's so hard to tell other people, because so many people get defensive, like to the point where they don't even want to know. They're like, don't even talk to me about it because I don't even want to know what's going on. I just want to live my life.
Let's not talk religion or politics, as the famous quote goes, right? I have my views, and it doesn't matter what the truth is. I have my religious views, I have my political views, and it's just an emotional reaction to me. It's completely habitual, and I can't be anytime someone says I don't want to talk about a certain issue, it means that they're emotionally attached to it and not logically attached to it. Otherwise, they'd be open up to debate. Right? The reason you don't want to talk about a religious or political issue is because you can't defend it.
No, I agree. No, a lot of people, they get emotionally attached to a subject instead of having a logical, rational viewpoint of it. That's what they've always known. It almost defines who they are more so than why they even support it.
Yeah. Like my parents have said to me, I mean, I was raised as a modern Orthodox Jew, and I'm an atheist now. And I wasn't always an anarchist, and I think my parents have said to me, "Well, you're an atheist, you're an anarchist. Do you feel you're happier?" And my response would be, "Probably not, but I don't really think that's my goal." I mean, that sort of sounds weird, but probably not, but I don't care. I mean, I would rather see the truth, and I would rather believe what I think is right, even if it wouldn't make me, happy.
Well, speaking of depressing knowing the truth and whatnot, I hate to say it, but the biggest reason why I really want to move to New Hampshire for the Free State Project, or say other people for the Blue Ridge, is just to be around like-minded individuals. Just so I feel like I'm not the lone person in the wilderness. It's like I feel like sometimes, I don't know about you, but I throw back to a Matrix quote, a Matrix scenario. It's like you walk down the street, you're walking to work or whatnot, you're going grocery shopping, and sometimes you feel like you're walking through the Matrix because you know that probably everyone around you does not think the way you think. Yeah. They're oblivious to what's going on. They don't have any clue what's going on, and at some point, it's going down the road can be a lonely road because the internet's helped tremendously with this, but in real life, sometimes you're by yourself philosophically, but at least there you're around like-minded individuals, and I kind of want to be around like-minded individuals. Even if they don't succeed, at least I'll be around other people that are like-minded.
I think you need a balance. I think to be around people who don't think who totally disagree with you and you're totally foreign to them, I think that can be very depressing. But on the same time, being around people who totally confirm what you believe makes you incredibly intolerant and narcissistic, I've also discovered. So I think you need a balance. I think if you're constantly surrounded by people who simply just stroke your ego and confirm, you're right, you're right, you're right, you're just going to become tolerant of other people's viewpoints and I think become very narcissistic. So I think neither, being around people who don't agree with you at all and being surrounded solely by people who agree with you, I think you need both.
I'll give you that. Yeah, I mean, you don't want to get to the point where everyone agrees with you, but let's face facts here. You look at the Liberty Movement, everyone disagrees with everyone on so many different issues from time to the point where, there's always debate. I've never seen so much debate in my life. You look at, the people in the Liberty Movement, we debate everything. We debate every little situation, every little issue, and it becomes sometimes if you look at Facebook posts, it becomes like a flame war with some people and stuff like that, and yeah, we hold everyone to their feet to the fire at some point. I wouldn't say I probably disagree with a lot of there's a lot of things that people in the Liberty Movement say that I don't 100% agree with, but they're not pointing guns at me and they don't want to point guns at me.
Well,
so
I don't think I've met
that's my big thing.
Well, I've never met a person I agree 100% with. I don't agree with myself 100% of the time. I guess my next question, because I'm curious. What are your religious views? Because I think a lot of people in the anarchistic movement, and I guess I'm part of it as well, are on the atheistic side. Do you think that there's a similarity between them? Do you think that religious and political views are totally separate? Do you think one determines the other?
Well, for atheists, I see why most atheists are anarchists, because it makes sense. If you're questioning the existence of God, you should question the existence of the state. You know, it kind of goes hand in hand. I completely get that. You know, that correlation. Are you asking what my spiritual viewpoints are?
Sure.
I don't know. I haven't figured it out yet. Is that a good enough answer? I'm pretty much. I do think there is some sort of creator. I don't think that the universe just is there. Do I know what it is? No.
Right.
I don't. I don't really push religion. I don't think there should be. I don't believe in any organized religion whatsoever. I don't think anyone should have. If you believe, you know, you should practice whatever you want to believe. I kind of do believe. I have some sort of belief that there is some sort of creator or creation, because I don't think everything happened. You know, the entire universe just didn't, you know, appear. Something had to start that. Something had to happen before the Big Bang, is what I'm saying. Right. What that is, I don't know. Someone had to create the parameters of the universe in regards to gravity and time and physics and math and all that jazz. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my whole thing. I think something had to have created it, but what that is, I don't know.
All right.
Does that make any sense?
Yeah.
That's another whole side rabbit hole I'm kind of still going down, trying to really figure out. And I mean, we can go. But one of my other things I kind of like research is the whole singularity thing about how Have you ever heard of the simulation theory?
Sorry, you broke up. Can you say it again?
Heard of that before?
Can you say it again?
Have you ever heard of the simulation theory? The simulation theory. No, it's basically you know how you play. I don't know if you play video games or whatnot, but you know how there's a video game, you know, say like new Grand Theft Auto came out or whatnot. How like there's this whole simulated universe, and how there's artificial intelligence within that universe, and how everything there's parameters. When you jump, you can only jump so high. When you fall, there's so much damage, and there's gravity, and there's physics. How there's this theory that we live in a simulated reality, and we can create our own. We can literally create our own universe within our own universe, and it's this whole like concept where we already are in a simulated universe. I don't know. I just wanted to. I don't know. That's my kind of like. Honestly, I don't know what, you know, if there's a God or whatnot. I don't know. I think there is. I think someone created the universe. That's about it. I don't know. I'm going on a tangent, I guess. I don't know. I always find like tech and simulated stuff, and I find that kind of fascinating. The whole idea that there's the theory that we might live in an actual already simulated universe. But in my opinion, what's the difference between the real world and a simulated universe if all the parameters are the same?
Right. Yeah. No. Well, I mean, you can believe in a creator, and you can believe in that the creator, you know, is looking out for you and is making sure that the world doesn't fall apart, right? So you could believe that something just created the world, and you know that's it, and it lets nature take its course, and it really doesn't influence anything. And you could believe that there's this God, and you know, only through believing in Him and your subservience will, you know, society not crumble, right?
Well, my whole thing is I don't think it. My whole thing is I don't think it matters if people believe in God or not. You know, as long as you don't convert me by the sword, I care less what you think about. Like I can care less what you think between your head. If you think there's a God or not, I don't care. I really don't care. As long as you're not trying to force me to do something that I don't want to do, I don't care what you do in your own life. Whatever you do in your life, care when you turn that gun toward me, then I care. Then I care about what you're doing. But other than that, I can care less what you think or do in your own life.
Oh, I agree. I agree. Well, anyway, thank you. It was great having you on the show. Maybe you can come back in like a month or so.
Sure, sounds good.
All right. Thank you. That you have a website, or you want to plug?
I don't have a website at the moment. You can always find me on Facebook and Twitter and Google+. Just search Voluntarist Rebel. or Twitter, just at Voluntary Rebel is probably the best. But yeah, just search for, or go on YouTube, just search the Voluntarist Rebel. You'll find me on there.
All right. Great. All right. Take it. Thanks.
All right. Peace.